and get the second half of the show on the road. So you guys did a really good job in the first half. So we're going to move right along. And you've actually sort of started on the next couple of things I want to talk about. So you brought up some strategies for, particularly education-related ones that can carry through a drought, but that are particularly important before a drought occurs. So, and we talked a little bit about a couple of other ones, including learning by experience that you sort of do at the time, but then can carry forward after that. So, one of the things I want to talk about right now, and Kevin mentioned this one earlier, so I went ahead and wrote it down, is what are some things that you do in your organizations, and for you, this is either your on-farm stuff or at the irrigation district, to consider or prepare for drought. And this can either be existing challenges, so ones that you know are going to happen, or things that you might anticipate being new challenges in the future, in future droughts. So we'll start with the saving water in the reservoirs. We've already got that on the list. So one of the things you guys have started doing is leaving your water in the reservoirs. Wait. So.
Yes. I thought you wanted to.
I do, but I'm asking Kevin to talk about this one that's already on the list, and then we'll get to you. Kind of, yeah. So.
What we talk about is just touching the surface of what actually goes on.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
And there's only so much we can write on a piece of paper, so we don't have to write the whole thing down. But so when you're thinking about saving water in reservoirs, what do you guys have in mind? You said that you have changed your practices because of that drought in the 2000s. So what are you trying to? I mean, thinking about the impacts that we talked about, what are you trying to do?
What are we trying to do?
Yeah.
We're trying to lessen the next drought. We're trying to put off the next allocation year.
Okay, so you are trying to handle this lack of supply.
Lack of supply.
Issue. Okay.
Which helps everybody. But we don't, I think the big districts, especially the big districts after what happened, is we're just not going to crank the canals back up and run 200,000 acre feet. I know Dennis used to run around 2,000 CFS. He averages about 1,650. And we average probably 100 CFS less.
Okay.
We have changed our practices on how high we keep the water.
Okay.
And different things like we keep it moving. We want it to move 1.5 miles an hour instead of 1 mile an hour.
Okay.
Which you get less seepage.
Okay. So is this the only impact that you're trying to address with stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
That is what we do, I mean, within the district itself. But that same impact will impact everybody else.
Well, that's true. And actually, let's talk about that before we move on. Because you are trying to help your users with their lack of supply. Mm-hmm. But as you just pointed out, there's less recharge that comes along with that. So so you said that has an effect on everybody else. What are some of those other effects? And are they always good?
The other effect is if I'm running 100 CFS less, I'm putting 70 less acre feet a day into the aquifer.
All right.
Just the aquifer. I'm not.
So what happens with that reduced recharge?
Less water back to the streams, okay. Less water to the wells, less water to the main stem of the river.
So, and particularly in a drought, mm-hmm. you may be addressing one impact
and causing another.
And making another one worse. Okay.
You know the old saying, fix one thing, hurt another.
I mean, that's the same question I asked the environmentalists when they wanted to take that.
Take all our water?
Take that 2 million acre feet of water away from the Central Valley Project. Well, we're taking it because it's going to benefit this. I said, okay, that's understandable. You're taking it for that species, but what are you going to hurt by taking it? And they couldn't answer it, wouldn't answer it.
You know, when you look what they did in the Central Valley for the smelt They took water from California, put it in the ocean, which is already rising. Huh?
You're getting off topic.
I know.
So I'm gonna stop you. It's gonna stop you
smell
there.
when I was growing up, not that little.
It's just I became one
That's okay. Leo was in the hot seat a lot yesterday, and he was sitting in that very chair. So
Hayne?
yeah, hey.
I was in his group last year.
Who's?
Leo Hunter.
Oh, at the draw tournament. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Leo,
you have your hand up. Go. Preparedness. What do you do? Or what do you?
our ditch board,
What ought you to be doing
well, our ditch
to
board
meet new
is,
challenges?
after visiting with these fellows, ours is probably a little bit of an embarrassment. I just text our secretary to see how many acres we've got. I've been appointed, so I'm not up to school.
Okay.
But since the time I've been on, we've been really pushing for underground pipe and for guys to put pivots,
I'll come help you.
put pivots on
Don't. We
flood
don't like
ground.
that. Okay.
So we could have less water, draw less water. And we've had a few people do that. And I know that hurts the recharge into the river, but we're so short of water, we're just a little district. We thought we could save some water that way.
Okay, so you're kind of addressing with those things, the same things that Kevin was talking about with the changes in his canal operations and the saving water in reservoirs, yes?
But he's like a mega ditch. You guys are like mega ditches.
We're not talking about this respective of size. So
Well-
you're right that there are economies of scale there.
Yeah.
But in terms of the thing you're trying to do, and yes, the other effect that has, do you agree that that's the same regardless of how big your...
We're hurting the recharge, but
Right.
we're saving the usage.
Right, okay. And that's something you're doing now. So you said that you were sort of feeling like your ditch was maybe a little bit behind. Do you have things in mind that maybe you would be doing in the future?
I'd like to invite one of these fellows to our meeting.
Let's look at your ditch first. And I've done that. Rick has done it for all the little districts. I'd ride with their board and they'd ask questions, and they're all starting to upgrade because for the first time in history, 2 years ago, Winter Creek didn't have enough water. Winter Creek Irrigation asked us to still 20 feet so they could get enough water to irrigate. So they're looking at that. I surveyed a pipeline for him this year.
You know,
Okay,
I have a question on what he said.
okay.
What he's doing is, though, he may be cutting back on the recharge, but they're probably going to use less well water in the system
Because
because they have more water to put into surface water to put in the pivots.
okay. Do you have a lot of commingled acres?
we're starting to.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
As far as the reservoir systems, we, under the North Platte project, have come up with some agreements in how we operate.
Right.
And we have a trigger number come May 1, or when the first district starts to draw, if the total supply is 850,000 or less,
Mm-hmm.
we automatically go under an allocation. We automatically, we will go under an allocation, which means we split the pot that's available at the time.
Okay.
And then each of us individually operate accordingly.
Okay, do you see that as something that you're doing sort of as a preparedness for drought specifically?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
for allocation, drought,
Okay.
allocate, short water supply.
Those contracts we did in '99.
Yeah.
And I love it when somebody wants to turn on early, because my share of what comes in after that date goes up to 22%. But nobody ever turns on early, unless it's so dry that.
And then the other thing that we have willingly done after the 2007 is usually by around the 20th of September, every district is pretty well shutting down. They're
Okay.
saving that 10 or 12 days of water and holding it in the reservoir. And then usually the first 18 to 20 days in June, we're saving that water and holding it in the reservoir.
Okay, so that's related to
Yeah.
this. Okay.
That's where our that's
No,
where our
okay.
owners are coming in. So a lot of our, especially our bean, a lot of our corn users are down by the 1st of September. Unless they've had a little hail or something, but they're done shut off with those pivots. They just shut off because they don't want to pay the demand charge for September and irrigate for 10 days. Unless they absolutely have
Because
to.
we preach it to them every day. So we don't get
We get a
yelled
lot of people shutting off August 31st.
Not mine. That's some of your yield loss.
You know, most of our corn is done. Some of our farmers got it in pretty early.
Okay, so is that between the two of you? Is that something that you are purposely encouraging them to do, or is it something they just do? You're nodding yes. He's saying no.
They do it economically.
They do it economically
Okay,
for
so it's not-
themselves.
We just explain to them the economics behind it.
Okay.
It's their choice.
Yeah.
If they don't think they can get their crop to where they want it, money's no object at that point. They'll do
Okay.
whatever they have to do.
With, like Rick said, with being off, we all used to run till the 1st of October. A lot of times now, between the 10th and 15th, we're taking it out of the
Starting
ditches.
it down and starting down.
You know, that's just, for us, that's just using less water.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. It hurts the office. Well,
6,700 acres.
Okay.
67?
What about you? What are there things that your district does right now to prepare for drought or to think about future challenges from
I don't know
drought?
that we have
Okay.
at this point.
Is there
Coming to
something you
these
feel like,
meetings is
okay,
Probably a beginning.
okay, all right. Is there something that you feel like your district should be doing?
Well, as you talk about this, if people are gonna change how they're gonna use it, rates could change because we may have to change how we go about charging people.
You know what I think? I honestly think that you guys should do is every spring, you guys put 2 or 3 of your board members, your whomever does the numbers, and come in and meet with all the landowners, all the districts, board of directors, and visit with them about how all that works.
So you guys know too.
Right. And then that will help them plan how they're going to operate through the rest of the summer. Because if we don't get water back in the ditch till the 25th of June, them guys may say, I'll wait till the 1st of July.
we see a
And
lot
it
of
was
that.
a long time coming to get to this learning curve. When we started these demand rates, which we haven't always had, but when we started doing them, it took a long time to get that education out there.
Right.
Because people didn't realize that if you only turn on for a day or two
Mm-hmm.
into the month, and then we read your meter, you're gonna get dinged. That demand is gonna be the same every month, whether or not you use the same amount of kilowatts. You can use 1,000 kilowatts or 10,000 kilowatts, and you're still gonna get that same demand. Because that's what it takes to turn that motor on.
Okay. So if you were going to look at changing your rate structures, what would you be trying to address if you did that?
Well, the old strategy for rate structures was not that you necessarily collected those rates in the customer charge or in the demand charge. You maybe put a lot of that in the kilowatt hour charge. Well, if they're not going to use as many kilowatt hours, but they're going to up the demand, you're going to need to get that back where it belongs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so you would be trying to address your revenue fluctuations?
Paying our bills.
Okay,
We're going to get charged that
Okay.
regardless.
okay, so this is not necessarily aimed at this from the customer's side of things. It's mostly aimed at
Probably, yeah.
this. Okay. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, I did a lot of visiting with the Chimney Rock Board, and they were gonna visit with the Bureau of Feasibility Study on the hydro at Lake Minnetonka during the irrigation season. We've looked at small, low head hydros, and it's mostly for peak season for you guys. Have you ever looked at any of that?
course, the Bureau would probably want a piece of that.
The Bureau would want a piece of it, but it's instant electricity in a time of having to build it from somewhere else is all.
We can only buy a certain amount from somewhere else.
Yeah.
We have a power contract with Tri-State.
So I know they've been talking about Lake Minnetonka, and we've been talking low head hydro. I like to have one up at the river and then sell it to the city of Mole.
What else? What else are you doing now? What do you think you should be doing? What do you wish you were doing? What do you plan to be doing?
I'm up in the top.
No, Kevin, that's not what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
You brought me a PowerPoint about drought. What are you doing on your farm?
What are we doing on our farm?
What are you doing on your farm?
We're doing a lot of different things. As we're breaking it down like an agronomic, we're trying to determine how we can build organic matter, because that helps hold water. We have a rotation plan. It's all in there. Looking at cover crops, tillage practices, moisture probes, variable rate irrigation.
Okay, so
Nozzles.
okay, so, and thinking about the impacts that we talked about earlier, what are the things you're trying to address with that?
How are we trying to address?
No, what are the things that, with all of these things that you're doing, what are you trying to get at that happens before, during, or after?
It's water efficiency.
Okay.
That's what we're after.
Okay, so you have the lack of supply in a drought. You have that in mind.
Well,
When
we are
you're
looking at every year as a drought,
Sure.
and we're trying to be as efficient as we
Right,
can.
but so when you look at every year as a drought, you're anticipating that there may be less water. And so you're trying to position yourself as best as possible
Well, we're
to
trying to
deal with
lead.
that.
We're trying to lead,
Okay,
and we're trying to lead and figure out how to be more efficient.
Okay.
With water. I think these guys brought up a really good point. When farmers had to cut, they did
mm-hmm.
and had good crops, but then they go back. And that just breaks my heart to hear that when he said that, because that's just such a bad thing. You know, if we learn something, we should build on it.
Okay,
Which leads back to one word, especially with the amount of wells, it's called sustainability.
I wrote that down on the
Yeah,
next page. I
that's-
talked about that too.
But, you know, it goes back, what this gentleman said is what we do today and how it affects tomorrow. And, you know, sprinkler nozzles should be changed every 5 years. That's where they're determined they're wearing out. There's pivots that have 20-year-old nozzles. I'm just saying, there's just little things like that with education.
But that's where there's this little round thing that goes around and around when the pump's running that says, oh, he's taking more water than he did 5 years ago.
Well, and it's also the water pattern, the droplets and all that can be different, even though it's the same gallon sometimes. It's not the efficiency, and there's been a lot of studies, and you guys probably know way more about that than me on the size of the water drops that hit.
We only learn that when we,
The evaporation is what I'm getting to.
Let me ask you this question.
spray rate on an all within our pocket side.
B&G think that the bigger districts seem to be running at a higher. Let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer. What's your O&M charge?
You mean our taxes?
Yeah.
I think it's like $27. Wow.
That should be sufficient enough to maintain your canal. Mine's at $30.
We're 26.
Yeah, I think our total budget's 150.
Mine's 1.7 million.
I think ours is 154,000. So let me find
There's
it.
1.5.
Yeah, we're just tiny.
But that's the part on most districts where they neglect the O&M. Now, I've been with the district 25 years, and when I came here, our O&M was $18.50. And I went back and figured that, and what it actually cost the landowner on the increase was about 50 cents a year increase for the past 25 years. Is how it. So if you go back and figure the cost, the increased operation cost, it's more than that. It's more than on your farm and whatever else. So as far as sustainability goes, you can't get anything done unless you have adequate O&M.
Okay. That's an excellent segue, Rick. Thank you.
I think he's a rock
So that
star.
word, we're just going to start calling him Rick Pressman Rockstar now. It's going to stick too. Okay, so the word sustainability keeps coming up. So let's talk about what you mean when you say that. Let's draw a picture of that. So you were talking about
He nailed it.
O&M, but that's a sustainability of a
System,
ditch
water system.
Is a holistic water system?
a delivery.
Okay, because O&M doesn't pay for everything. It doesn't pay for everything in a water system. It pays for a canal,
Operation and
the
maintenance.
operations of a canal system.
Operation and
Okay,
maintenance.
so that's what you're thinking of from a sustainability standpoint.
As far as operating the system.
Sure, okay. Shall we put that on the list of things? That
Well,
fall
without
under
proper
sustainability?
O&M
Okay.
or income, you can't do it. And this is where it gets down to the dollar. When you start talking to a landowner about the dollar, you might as well have your tennis shoes on, because you're going to have to do a little ducking and dodging and running from time to time. So
What else are we talking about when we talk about sustainability? You've used it a couple of times. What do you have in mind?
Well, I've got a discussion with the owner of this building in Farmville. He says you can't define it.
I didn't ask what he thought.
Huh?
I heard what he thinks. I want to hear.
But
what he
here's
thinks.
my thought, and I think you can define it. Tend to take a simple approach. It's what we do today, how it affects tomorrow. That's
Okay.
how you're gonna have sustainability, is if you take care of today.
Okay. So it's not just what you do flat. It's doing certain things today. Okay. What are those certain things?
Well,
What are you
because
thinking about when you think about taking care of today?
agronomics, economics.
Okay.
I hate to keep going back to that environmentally, but see, I think if you take care of that today, it'll take care of tomorrow.
Okay. Give me some examples.
Number one, if we save water,
Okay. So you're thinking about saving water.
if we watch the way we farm, we can cut our equipment costs. And that affects the economics.
So you're also thinking about cutting your input costs. What else?
Well, in our operation, we track how much each inch we pump, what it costs.
Okay.
We track how much equipment per acre, what our costs are, our depreciation per acre. I mean, we track a lot of things.
Okay.
And by tracking it, it's like the saying, if you measure it, you can manage it.
Okay.
We're trying to get more efficient. And
Okay.
we're trying to take care of today.
Okay. You've also said the word environmental a couple of times.
Right.
What do you have in mind when you're talking about environmental?
I think
What are you thinking about?
water, ground quality, like, we don't believe in leaving the ground open.
Okay.
We believe in like cover crops, that always should have something. We feel like it should always have 65% coverage.
Okay. Those are the only things you think about? Is that it? We got got soil health.
You mean
and
for
ground
the
cover.
environment?
Yeah, when you're talking about environment,
Well, yeah,
those are the
and
things that you're thinking
water
about.
efficiency, taking
Okay.
care of your soil health. Soil health is the new frontier.
It is.
And I think we're gonna see that ties into water usage.
Okay.
Nutrient management.
Okay.
We put all our nutrients on, we variable rate everything, and we put it all on next to the row. We don't put it on, we don't broadcast. We're trying to keep our nutrients in a band.
Okay.
So we don't have it going.
Okay.
Because we have some ground close to the river.
Okay. Kevin,
Yo,
you started to say something. Now it's your turn.
well,
Or have you forgotten?
no, and my idea was sustainability has to do with not only the environment or on the farm or in the reservoir, but has to do with the aquifers and keeping them clean and have the water available for generations to come. And that's exactly what he's doing.
But I mean, it's worried about today.
Yeah.
So you have tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I worry about what will the water be like for my granddaughter in Ellery? What will it be like for her kids? Will there be enough water? Will the state still be in ag, or are they going to drain the Ogallala? You know, and when you start draining reservoirs, water becomes stagnant. And then, like you said, you start getting all these things in the water. And you've been around long enough, and me and Rick been to enough meetings every year for 20 years that we've been hard to define. You're right.
It is.
But we've been talking about it for 30 years.
Right, and everybody has, at least in my experience, some picture of something in their heads when they say that word. Even if everybody's picture is completely different, everybody's got a picture. So at the beginning of what you said it's not just in the environment or agriculture. Do you have things in mind when you think about the environment or about agriculture?
Yeah, I do. Now that I've been with the district 37 years, a couple of years with Rick in there, I've learned more and more about ag, being on different boards, what it takes for this state to survive.
Okay.
And of course, everybody knows we're the first state with NRDs. You know, California didn't even have any rules for crying out loud. They're pumping salt water. But and my vision is that I know it's not as much there anymore. There's already less. We need sustainability means to slow that down.
Slow what down?
The water loss in the office. The
Okay.
water loss. Slow it down. Like anything else, you got to slow it down. You're never going to fix it, but you may get it to come back up. You know, yeah, I don't know we'll ever fix it. Only because our water's in and out so fast and all the rain, and now you're paying me to soak water away in April. You know, that helps bring it back. Instead of sending it down the river, we put it in the canals, and that's all things to help sustainability.
Okay.
And we have more water in this state than any other state, except if you want to go to a state of 1 million lakes or something. But I look at it for the future generations, and that has to be taught.
Okay. Hang on, I want to hear from Sandy.
I want to go down below the line.
We're going to get there. But actually, if you want to go ahead and
have
do
a
that.
question.
Uh-huh.
You sound like you're doing a lot. You're really working towards trying to be more efficient. Are there groups, are there meetings for farmers in this area to tell them this and train them on this? And I know you can't lead a horse in
Sure.
drink the water because he's not going to do it. But
I know, well,
and do a lot of them in this area do those kind of things now. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe they know.
Most of the guys that are doing this are from Bridgeport East.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have gotten the indication of.
Because of the wells.
the NRD has been part of, it used to be called the Panhandle No-Till Partnership. I think it has a new name now. It's some sort of conservation something. I'll learn it eventually. Anyway, they hold a meeting, I think, every year to talk about these things like better conservation with tillage practices and stuff like that. My understanding is they get the same crowd every year. So, it's the same crowd that's already doing it. I don't know what the size of it is. I don't think it's very large.
They meet up north though?
And
I don't think
just
so. They did
because
it in
they don't
Bridgeport.
Oh, they
care,
They did
or
it in
they-
Bridgeport this year. They've moved around.
Oh.
And I think that the university every so often does like demonstration day kinds of things. I don't know. I've never seen them terribly well advertised, so I don't know
That
how
was
many
my-
people show up to those.
That was my thought.
But that's an interesting point. So do you think then that there should be more of those things and they should be promoted
You just hit on
Sure.
part of what I think is
Okay.
maybe part of the problem. You said you don't know how well advertised they are.
Right.
So maybe you need to tell people like us,
Okay.
we send a bill to everybody every month.
Okay.
We have a little spot on that bill where we
Okay.
can put a blurb on there. We can say, there's a meeting, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So you're
Or we
saying
put out a newsletter every
Okay.
quarter. We could do the same
So-
thing there.
so we could partner with people like you to get that information out
Yes,
to all of your
to the people that it needs to go out to.
partnerships. We like partnerships.
See, all well farmers are different than surface ones.
Oh, yes, I know.
They're, and what they're doing, like, what's his name with,
Right.
yeah, they're doing, you're cutting costs and you're getting your aquifer to not move at the same time. And so and you don't need the water to raise some of those crops. And we, at all our state and some 4 state meetings, Rorick speaks every year at Kearney,
Oh, I've heard him.
but we don't get
He's
as many
done that
landowners
first.
or board members to go to those meetings anymore. And that's the big, the university has so much stuff, and Rorick and his buddy, God, we haven't speaking, he's so funny.
But everything that I've heard him at has been from Ogallala, North Platte, east.
Well, we did a lot with Rory because we're just not the, we did some of it for Rory.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rorick,
Rory's a politician.
He's a
He
politician.
is. And this is not a meeting to talk about Rory.
No,
So,
but I just
yes,
saying,
let's go back to you.
I have sat in a lot of meetings across the country about sustainability. Why do we have to make it so complicated? This is going just like every other meeting. Why can't it be just so simple? What we do today affects how it affects tomorrow. But I mean, I've heard professors, I've heard Case IH had the president or whatever his deal, and said, I mean, why everybody's trying to define it so hard? It's like a bunch of lawyers with the word interpret on the law. But it's really pretty simple, isn't it?
The problem with the state of Nebraska is it has no other revenue other than water, period.
No, I'm talking about.
It's a water demand state, and nobody wants to give up one drop of it. And on the sustainability part, I went back and run some numbers, and from 1927 to 1958 under our district, allocation years only, we averaged 100,000 acre feet of water in allocation years, 27 to 58. I went back and figured the average delivered to the farm over those allocation years, and we delivered 0.46 acre feet per farm with 100,000 acre foot supply. In 1958, we went into what's called an R&B program, Rehab and Betterment Program. And in 2012, from 1958 to 2012, I went back under the allocation years, and it showed an average of about 100,000 acre feet available during the allocation years on average. And because of under the R&D program, we were able to deliver 1.06 acre feet per acre after the R&D programs. So there's abilities out there, there's things out there that you can do to sustain sustainability, to do that. The question is how far are you willing to go? How far are you willing, how much money are you willing to spend to see it happen? Under our districts, we're limited. The only income we have is just the O&M. We can't go outside and draw in custom jobs or things. Otherwise we lose our tax exemptions. So, but for me, I learned a long time ago that when I operate, my next 5 years of operation is based on the past 5 years of what I've done. So for the past 5 years of everything I've done, it's set me up for the next 5 years to come. And this 5 years that I'm working is going to set me up for the next 5 years to come.
That goes back to my point. What you do today affects tomorrow.
Yeah. And I've asked a landowner one time, I said, he was mad about us shutting the water off. Blah, blah, we got water right. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if you were to lay your checkbook on the table and let me look at it, and let's say you had your $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000 in it, I'm going to ask you this. Are you gonna spend that just because it's in there? Well, no, I'm gonna do that. I said, then why do you do that with your water? Why do you want to blow it down the canal if you just don't necessarily have to have it? So we get a different, yeah, we've got water. We can run it down the ditch. But if you're not going to beneficially use it, why do you even want it in the ditch?
Okay, so to bring that back around here, or here, wherever you think that should go, what do you think we could put under either of these to deal with that? Nope, Kevin had his hand up first.
Well, I don't know. I think it comes down to common sense and education, probably.
Okay. Education about what to whom?
What education about how to handle, I mean, boy, I don't know how to say this.
Don't worry about it, just say it.
I don't
I'll make
know.
it sound pretty if you just tell me what you're thinking about.
I guess my frustration is I don't go to the coffee shops, but I hear the rumor coming back from the coffee shops, and every farmer that's sitting in there has got it figured out on how it's going to have to work to make it, which is fine. I mean, you can figure it all out, but until you're sitting in the driver's seat, you have no idea.
Okay, so that's the thing that your district landowners need education on is the
On how the
finer points about
on how
how
your
the
water
system
system
works.
actually operates.
Okay,
How the water gets from the reservoir to the river, from the river to the canal, from the canal to the laterals, from the laterals to your farm. How much it takes. You know, it's not something that you're taught. It's something you have to
live it.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
learn. You have to learn it by flying by the seat of your pants. I mean, it's not something. Yeah, this is kind of how we've done it in the years past. But any good manager will tell you, not every year is going to operate the same as the year before.
I'm still looking for one. Yeah, and you're right. Rick. You can go out and hire an engineer and pay him. These guys aren't going to pay him an engineer's price, that's for sure. But he's not going to know the water. He's not going to know the system. He's not going to know the farms. He's not going to know the people. And he can't. And so everybody else that, if I say I retire in 7 years, I'll be 67.
you're getting a little off topic.
Okay. So anyway, I
What
have
did
something
you
to say
raise your,
about
yeah,
that
you raised your
sustainability
hand,
thing.
yeah.
It's a very simple thing. We have spent, I don't remember the first model we tried in the late 90s, hired a group out of Denver, model after model after model that hasn't proven much. And where I look at we've cleaned up the 9 Mile project. We just did 3/4 of a mile on Winter Creek. The state has measuring devices at the end.
Hmm.
What we're looking for is what gets to the river. So you shut the wells down 5 miles outside the river, that water's going to come up in a creek. You know, why are they punching in all this stuff and spending millions of dollars when I can see it in the creek? I live on the creek. It's come up since we cleaned that creek. That to me, that's simple. I mean,
Probably the most frustrating thing for me is
that's all I have.
this is the landowner's this is the landowner's farm, and he can tell you every blasted doggone thing that goes on that farm, but he has no idea what goes on past that.
Okay, that's probably true. And I think that kind of falls
Yeah.
under this.
But they want a bellyache if you
All
can't
right,
get
one
that.
more thing and we're moving on.
I think you're missing a very valid point. What does the NRD teach all of agriculture in western Nebraska?
What are you driving at?
We used to put 22 inches on or 24 inches.
Okay, so you are looking at the part that past NRD practices have paid or have played in
You're over-
forming the current perceptions of water use,
You're overthinking
or
it
maybe
just-
some of the frustrations.
One of the points here that I think that gets missed a little bit is, I've been in the business 42 years. We thought we couldn't raise a crop without 22 inches or 24. The NRD come in and said, you're gonna do it on 14 inches.
Okay.
Have you heard one farmer go broke because he didn't have enough water?
Personally, I don't, but I've only been here 2 years. So
No,
that's
but
not
you
a
see my
very fair
point?
question.
Rules took out a third of water usage.
Okay.
That's what education can do. These guys have all said when farmers.
Instead of rules or
No,
in addition to?
with rules.
With rules. Okay.
Education and rules.
Okay.
But you have to all admit, we saved a lot of water that wouldn't have happened unless the NRD would have said that.
We have one of the only NRD districts in the whole state that supports
Surface water.
surface water users.
But you see my point.
Mhm.
We went from unlimited pumping and we're making a living on 14 inches.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking about. That's the power that can be done.
You are on 14 inches.
Okay.
But the question is to the NRDs, is everybody within the NRD basing on 14 inches?
They don't have to be.
See, this is what I'm getting at. So how many wells in the NRD district, let's just say a quarter, 160 acres, are pumping 900 gallons a minute?
In this district?
In any of the
Or any? I
NRD
have no idea.
at 900 gallons a minute.
But they're all set at 14. There's nobody over 14 inches.
No, I think
There's
Dalton and Gurley, that area.
Yeah, the South Platte NRD is the only other NRD with allocations at all. And they have 3 or 4 different sets of allocations for different areas of the district, some of which are higher than 14. We're getting off topic.
No, but my point was that you can save water if you're forced to.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe we should make a law.
No, but do you
Well,
understand where I'm going?
Well, I do. But related to what Kevin just said, all NRDs do not have to have allocations. NRDs can put on allocations. They are not required to.
But
The
this-
only thing that would make all NRDs or all NRDs in the OA have to do it would be a change in law.
If, I guess for me personally, and I may be completely out of sync here as far as water savings during drought, but that's the part, and that's where I stepped on his toes a little bit when we come in, is the 14 inches is awesome. I mean, I think that's an awesome thing. That they can make it work on 14. Heck, we made it work on 12. I mean, during the allocation. But here's the thing, what I'm getting at is any places where there's no limitations, and I don't care what the groundwater says, if you put them on a foot to the 80 on their pumping abilities, how much more water would you push back to the river or to the stream? Because the real fact is nobody needs no more than 900 gallons. They don't need it on 160 acres,
Okay.
especially on a pivot. They don't need it on under a water saving situation on gravity.
Most pivots
Okay.
run at 750.
We are not going to keep talking about this
Okay.
right now. If we have a couple minutes at the end, we can keep talking about this
No, I
particular
think
topic.
the
We've
point
got one more thing we need to
We
do.
made a good point, though.
I think that's so, and you can keep talking about it in a minute. Right now,
Where's the gavel?
I will make you shut up. Right now, the last official thing you guys need to do is what we want to come out of this group is for you to pick your top 5 impacts or top 5 things that you think are important to be thinking about as we move forward in this drought planning process. And I want you to, we're going to work on forming those into sort of like goal statements or problem statements. And you kind of started to do that with some of this conversation that we've been having about education and water savings and allocations and stuff like that. But see, I put your vision statement up here. What I want you to do is pick the top 5 things related to this stuff that we've been talking about. I'm pretty sure I know what yours are.
Okay.
That you want to take to the entire stakeholder group and say that this group here thinks that these 5 things are important things that we all need to be talking about. Now, that does not mean that all 5 of your goal statements are going to make it into the drought plan, because everybody's going to have a handful of goal statements. And as we move through this planning process, you're all going to decide which are the ones that actually need to be in the plan. Can we combine some? Are there some that are important, but that are sort of outside our ability to do anything about in a drought plan? That kind of stuff will come out as this process continues. But right now, you need to formulate what you guys think are the important things that you want to start talking to the other sector groups about. From your
Everything you got
perspective.
wrote there.
5, Kevin, 5.
5 in
Economic
each,
impact.
5 in each one?
No, 5 period. So you can pick your top 5 impacts. You can pick one of these things as one of your top 5, and then we're going to make sort of goal statements out of them to sort of broaden the applicability and to make sure that it makes sense when you're taking this to your next set of meetings, that what you guys mean makes sense to everybody.
I have one.
Economic impact and education.
Okay, that's 2. And you all have to agree on what 5 are. So we have economic impact, we have education.
Under sustainability, I think that one should read, aquifer water quality, quantity with soil health and ground cover to slow down aquifer loss.
Okay. So,
I got 4 of them in that sucker.
Hey,
okay, so what you're saying then is you want to combine these 3 things into a single item.
Along with maybe a word about surface water.
Sure, we can take groundwater and surface water, that's fine. Okay, so that's 3. Economics, education,
That,
and then water quality and quantity.
How about agronomy?
You got to talk about what that means. What do you mean when you say agronomics?
Kind of, read my deal, it's right there.
No, you're not on tape if I just read your deal. What?
I give you my deal.
Give her a deal.
Admit it, we're your favorites, aren't we? I think
Actually,
our 5,
you guys have been pretty fun.
our 5 are probably going to get in there, guys, because we're.
You got to convince like 30 other people of that. So when you're saying agronomics, what are you talking about exactly?
Huh?
What
How
are
do
you
we
exactly
make-
talking
We
about?
want to make the soil better, so it takes less water,
Okay,
and
so
all that kind of goes.
okay. Kevin did not slide in nutrient management, but that's kind of related to soil health and kind of to quality. So you're agreeing with him that we should sort of combine these
Mhm.
things
It's
into a
good
single thing.
agronomic practices.
Okay. Okay. My concern with using the word agronomic,
Like sustainability.
right, is that some people aren't going to know what it means at all, and some people are going to have a very different notion of what that means. But when we get to formulating the sentence, we can talk about that. So you got 3, yes.
90% of the people think it's about the farmers are making money.
Okay,
Never
that
mind.
may be true, but that's not going to help us get to
No,
our number 4. You still got 2 more.
Well, I have one there under vulnerability.
Well, what do you want? What do you want on your list? We got 2 more.
Really?
Mhm.
I don't know how you take all of those and you put in,
You need to hit 2 of those.
2 of those, you know.
The second one.
Better farm management practices. In place of agronomics.
I think
Okay.
Does that explain what it is? I don't
Okay.
even know.
Well, it helps, actually. You want health. Okay.
well,
What kind of health?
Yes, health needs to be there also.
we need to. The drought's going to affect people's
Okay.
health.
Okay, so do you specifically want to talk about just physical health, just mental health, all
Well,
of
I
the
think you
above?
put health, and then you have A, B, C, and D below it. And
Those are objectives. I'm talking about goals. And
Okay.
objectives are the things that tell you how you're going to do
I
something.
know.
Goal statements are the what.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we're clear on the what.
I'll do the what?
Okay.
Chronic illnesses.
You don't actually have to.
I'm gonna add to
struggle
it.
together.
Okay, we just need health.
Okay,
Dramatic health issues, how's that?
You know, the more
Okay.
words we put, the harder it's gonna be to sell.
Yeah, dramatic health issues.
we can wordsmith cleverly. We need to agree on what it is we're wordsmithing about.
Well, I think
So,
health issues.
okay. So health, economics, education.
Wildlife.
I'm going to use the word agronomics to sort of cover that entire thing. I'm not actually going to write that down.
We'll
You
show
got
that
one
to
more.
everybody.
What about wildlife? Because our friends in Game
Okay.
and Parks aren't here. I mean, but
No, they had their meeting this morning.
I know, but
Okay, so wildlife.
well,
So,
you deal with
Environmental
wildlife, endangered
features.
species.
okay, so do you want to say in the
Environmental
general, be a
features.
little more general and say environmental
Yeah.
instead of just wildlife?
Well,
If you don't have the environment, you're not gonna have wildlife.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we all agree that those are your top 5 that you are concerned about?
what do you think you can sell?
That ain't the question.
She could probably sell anything or smack,
That's what I'm
she'll smack
thinking.
you if you don't buy
I
it.
think we got to give her something.
That's on
to
tape.
sell.
too.
It is on tape.
Uh-oh.
Now everybody can hear you.
So they're all going to hear that we're a favorite.
Say, oh, that Kevin just can't.
Better scratch it.
Do we all agree that those are Rick? I'm looking at you.
Well, I don't know, I think it comes back to education, but what I'm thinking is water management and, quality, so,
Okay.
It's all that leads to the health, leads to the environment.
Sure,
leads
they're
to-
all interrelated.
They're all interrelated, but we have to have 5 topics.
Right. So under agronomics, do you want to emphasize particularly the water management and water quality? Not
No.
that those other things, and we'll still write down those other
No,
things.
no,
Not that they're
we're-
not important, but is that what you want to emphasize?
well, I think our objective here was to deal with issues under the drought.
How about water impact? That could be real broad.
I'm waiting for a yes or no, man.
Various water impacts.
Let's hold off on the wordsmithing for a second. We still need to agree that these are the 5 things we want to make statements about. And I'm looking at this side of the room because they've been real vocal about that, and you guys have not.
I had 2 of the ideas.
That's true, you did.
Yeah,
But
so
so
good.
you had 2 of them. Are you on board with the other 3? Okay. Okay. Rick?
I guess for me, the only way to do it is put it under water management.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say it, because
Okay.
any way you look at water under drought and use situations, it's a never-ending discussion.
Okay. So, of those 5, do you have a priority in mind? Are they all equally important, or do you want to prioritize certain of them as number 1, number 2, and the other ones fall out?
Well, surface water is very, very important.
Okay.
I think
We're talking about this part of the state.
water's the blood of that.
Water,
Okay.
yeah, it's doesn't matter if it's well or surface,
Sure. So,
but without the surface,
sure.
there's not many wells.
So, is water management or the things that we have grouped here that are generally about water management, but other things too, is that your top priority then?
I think we ought to have water management and education as a couple of topics, because
Okay.
if
Does
you
it matter
don't
which
manage
one?
the water, and I don't know if
Okay.
education should be first and then water management, but if you don't manage the water, you're not gonna have economics, you're not gonna have environment.
Sure.
You're not gonna have anything, 'cause it's kind of, I use the word the blood of the system. I mean, it's, without water, you got nothing.
Well, the old sentence, like.
Okay.
It's a very,
It starts with water.
yeah,
It starts,
if we didn't have water here, we would
So,
have nothing.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
we have some of that desert grass.
Yes, Kevin. So, if we are going to make a goal statement about water management, surface water and groundwater quantity and quality, are we talking about maintaining what you already have? Are we talking about preserving it in the event of shortages in a certain time period? What exactly are you aiming for?
you really wanna mess with it, but water sustainability.
No. Because I'm looking for a verb here.
Verb. I know.
Maintain, preserve, are common ones.
Maintain water management, or maintain something to that thing. You said you would put your spin on it.
I am, but I'm still trying to get at what it is you guys are thinking about. Are
have
you
to
talking
manage the
about,
water.
okay, but
That's
are
the
you,
most important
are
thing. I
you
think
just
we all agree
wanting
on
to maintain what you have right now? Do you want us to
Preserve
make
it
it
in order
better?
to have it in the future?
Okay,
that. You take care of it.
okay, so
today.
you're not
Water
just talking
management
about.
preservation?
We take care of it today, we have it tomorrow.
Let's take a short trip.
Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about maintaining what you already have, and you're talking about preserving it in the future. Is that right? Okay.
If you don't preserve it, you won't have an economy.
I mean, Rick, we could make a bunch of money, go back to California and teach them clowns, couldn't we? I mean, Rick, well, I moved out here when I was 13. Rick came in the 20s, in the 30s.
30, early California.
Hmm.
San Joaquin Valley. For me, it was family. It was raising my family in an environment that was wholesome, moral, people that had values. That way you didn't have to send your kids to schools to walk through metal detectors or worry about them being on the street or gangs. Or
Which district did you work for?
San Luis Water District. Prior to that, I built irrigation systems.
Is that a fair statement? Maintain surface water and groundwater quantity and quality and preserve it for future generations.
Which is good.
And then underneath that, I'm gonna fold in some of those other things.
For people's ideas and sums it up well.
So these are sort of objective placeholders. They aren't really statements. What did you say?
Nothing,
What did you say?
You
nothing.
recorded yourself.
You couldn't.
I'll
hear
just go back and listen to it. That's
that.
fine.
Okay, good, then you, whatever. I found a place for Travis to shoot burritos.
They did.
On George Life is sitting up there.
Had a kid loves to shoot.
Okay, while I'm finishing writing this down, you need to be thinking about how you want to phrase education. What exactly?
You teach water users how to be better.
Okay, is it all water users? Is it some water
No.
users? Is
It's on farm and community water users.
I think it goes further than that.
okay?
I think education goes into the economic, the water, the whatever else. I think, so I think probably we're going to have to figure out how to conjoin everything that we are addressed earlier under the educational part under one topic. And I think probably it may be educate the general public or general users or general beneficiaries.
Which I think you could argue is everyone.
That's what I had all.
Okay.
Educate all beneficiaries.
Okay, but you want to argue, you want to educate them on,
Well, there's a list of things.
sure, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So you want to educate them on the basics of the water system.
Yeah, you want to educate them on the fact that the world's made up of 68% water. Human body is made up of 68% water. Only 3% of that water is fresh. 2% of it is in the glaciers, and 1% of it we got advantage to use. So.
Okay, so, but you also want to educate them on these things.
Right.
So general, sort of basic general knowledge things, but also
Right.
these drought specific
Make them aware that
things. Okay.
that this affects you, even if you're not out there irrigating, if you're not out there retrieving the crop, if you're not at the beanery, if this affects you. You need to understand
Even if you're watching.
why and how this
You leave
works the way
water
it
running
does.
2 minutes,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I consider myself lucky with my wells, what, 75 yards off the 9 mile. Pretty cool.
You know, most people that come in this valley to work, they come because there's agriculture, there's water, but they have no idea where it comes from, how it operates, how much there is.
You have to start somewhere with that education process, but in the end, I think you even need to get it down to where you're educating the children. Because they're the ones that are gonna go home and tell their parents,
Yeah,
you have the water on the lawn too long, or you.
I used to take the bus loads of 6th graders out to the head gates,
Don't-
but then it got too dangerous.
Sure.
But John Wolf's doing a lot of things with the kids, and
You have to look at lawns and just look how much water they waste.
I know how much I use, and it takes me over an hour with a rider to mow one.
No, I'm just saying,
It takes a lot of water.
lawns waste more.
Well, we need
Golf
to
course.
look at all water resources, and I tried to get the Gearing, gray water. I tried to get that, and I had landowners just raise a ruckus over that. I
remember
could
that.
have pumped that up to, and we wouldn't have paid 1 penny for getting it.
City of Gearing was gonna put it in a reservoir for him, and you could take out 20 CFS.
I could have pumped it up there to the main canal at 3 or 4 second feet and mixed it with the 300 feet at the tunnel, and you would have never known it was in there.
Okay,
Okay, let me read it.
you guys got 8 minutes. You gotta
How
come
many
up
we got
with
done?
3 more things.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
economics. What about economics? Is your goal? You've decided that economics or economic impact is an important thing. What is it that you want to say about that to the group?
It's going to affect everyone,
Okay,
not just the farmers, not just it's gonna affect everybody from the growers right on down to
Okay.
the
okay.
store owners in
So,
town.
so do you think that a goal of this process should be just that people know that? Should a goal of this process be that we are developing strategies or taking steps to lessen those impacts? What are you wanting to do about that?
If you don't do the things we have on the list, that's what's gonna happen to you.
Sure. Okay.
We're not gonna have communities if we don't worry about that.
That's true. I'm trying to get to a goal statement. So what is the goal statement that you want to get at with that?
You mean with the economic impact?
Yes.
To manage it so we don't lose our communities.
Okay, so you
We
are
can't-
thinking about developing strategies or taking steps to maybe lessen the economic impacts of drought or to
We don't wanna.
safeguard the economy in the long term,
Well,
is what you're
because
thinking
you
about.
have to have business to have communities.
Yes, that's true.
And if we lose like Kelly Bean, Western Sugar,
Yes.
ethanol plant,
I was just gonna say to manage short-term and long-term economics for the future.
How do you manage economics?
How do you
Economics are a funny beast.
Yeah, how do you manage economics?
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at in the drought, you're gonna be looking for funding. Emergency
Okay.
funding. You're gonna be funding to offset costs for a lot of
Okay.
different things.
So part of what you're talking about, maybe an objective under that economics, is identifying funding resources. Okay. So,
Or financially preparing for
okay,
Financially.
preparing for shortcomings.
okay. So, but that sounds like, that's not really managing economics per se. The things that you're both talking about are, a very small person in the hallway. The things that you're talking about are developing ways to,
Be sustainable during hard times.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about making the economic impacts of
That's
drought
it.
less bad
Yeah.
and trying to carry the community as a whole through drought and
Yeah,
come out on the
economic
other side.
sustainability, I don't know.
That's a good word, but man, everybody gets used a lot in a lot of things, but it's still
Or an economic
sustainability.
balance.
I'm gonna have to start reading the new dictionary because there's a lot of new words.
Some of them not so good.
Some of them stupid.
Hey, you heard of this?
I don't know.
I thought I
mean,
did.
the way you
in,
prepare for the bad time is
Phoenix.
be sure you put it away in the good time. And find it, it's like you were saying
Yeah, some
earlier,
people have to take care of
the
themselves
peaks
too.
and the valleys, that's what hurts. And if you're not prepared,
See, when the economics drop, like they are now, you're looking at your cemeteries, your fire departments, they can't up revenues, you know, stuff like that. And your emergency management stuff is, you're gonna see more calls, they're spending more money, they don't have the funding,
Okay,
have to send Barrett some money because they put out in the fire the other day.
yeah, I'm starting to go.
Yeah, someone, that's probably my
I
own.
can give it to you. Here's three. I remember the environment was the fourth. Which one was the fifth?
Health.
Health, yes. Let's.
Health.
Do you have a particular order for either of those, or do you?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess health, and underneath it, we have like mental health.
Okay.
The financial.
What? Yes. What are you thinking about with health? Are you wanting to safeguard health during drought events? What are you wanting to do with health?
Well, we need the dust. I think we need, I mean, I don't think older people and children need to be in it. I don't know if we educate them or make them aware of it. Because feedlots are a nasty thing in a drought. I mean, they put all that stuff in the air.
Okay, Kevin, you started to say something.
I did.
You did.
I think on the health issues, where you're gonna see them second year, they're gonna start the second year, then in the third year, they're really gonna be bad like they were.
Okay.
And you need to have some kind of warning system
Okay.
to the public, air quality for, you know, to get it out to them, because I think a lot of people in town just didn't. But when the wind blows, that's the killer.
but that's where probably your experimental farm people could probably.
And what you see though, when you get into those third and fourth years is in the economics, not everybody's gonna put cover crop on those fields. And boy, are they gonna blow. You know, do I spend the money?
We've seen that here last week.
Oh boy, I don't
A
wanna
lot of
say.
real estate moving last week.
Let's see, you gotta cover it up.
I mean, everybody.
Is there funding out there to make sure, you know, that everybody can file through, you know, the NRD or somebody, you know, on a 50/50 cost share or two? They shouldn't have to, they should do it themselves.
Okay. Your last one is the environment. Your last one is the environment. And then you can be done. Give me a goal statement. What are you talking about?
We're talking about wildfires in the environment,
Okay?
Pollution from the dust.
pollution from the dust,
Okay.
warm stream waters,
Okay.
all those things, because there's less water available.
Death to the wildlife.
Yeah, how do we look at that, you know?
You can use your pheasants. I mean, you can put.
So are you wanting to implement ways to minimize the impacts of drought on the environment?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We were very lucky to get out of it when we did. Maybe 2-3 years we've been. We
I
never had any
tell
irrigation.
you what would help, I mean, We need to learn how to recycle some of our old materials, like the old concrete, get it ground up.
Yeah.
Use that on county roads and instead of them trying to find gravel everywhere.
Miniature did that, Paul Reed come in there by our shop in Miniature.
They need to incorporate it in the roads instead of just laying it on top of it.
City of Miniature ground it and they're using it on their dirt streets. I got enough concrete, I could do a lot of county roads. I got 2 farms full of concrete.
Okay. You got your 5 goal statements.
Because, most landowners are stewards of the land. I know a few don't really give a rat's ass. I do. Oh, sorry. I didn't say names. But I know I am. I know Rick is. Yeah.
Yeah, actually we can.
But when we were going through the MOA process in Platte River, then people wanted everything from us. They were just a little over the wall. It goes hand in hand from where we grew up. When I was growing up at the junior high in San Diego, it was different than when I went to high school in Mitchell. So,
Okay.
but I learned to live with it.
I have, Sandy needs to get going. I have 2 brief announcements and then you guys are done. So the next meeting is going to be on April 5th. Time is still to be determined.
April 5th. I'm
April
gonna tell
5th.
you, let's see, what day of the week is
That's a
that?
Wednesday.
What time?
We don't know yet. Probably later in the day again.
Well, the first 8 days of any month is hard for me,
I don't remember that.
board meeting.
But
Second Tuesday, I can't in the mornings.
Yeah.
Usually not.
we're going to record that
Tuesdays are bad for me. I have
So where's it gonna be?
at the NRD.
At the NRD.
That's on
That's for
April
him.
5th.
April 5th. That meeting, the purpose of that meeting is for the advisory group agencies and any of the other agencies that are stakeholders in this process, like Panhandle Public Health, for example.
What time?
I don't know yet. We will let you know. The purpose is to allow all of those agencies to give really short sort of informational presentations on what their capabilities and resources and limitations are specifically related to drought. So we're going to send out a list of who all those agencies are, along with when the actual meeting time is. So if you have any specific questions for any of those agencies, specifically related to drought, or if you need specific pieces of information from any of those agencies to help you as you keep moving through this process, get those emailed to me or to Elizabeth so we can make sure that those agencies know that they have these questions they need to be sure to answer. Does that sort of make sense? Okay.
Whatever you think.